there's a lineage that runs from. I think there's an interesting thing about self-initiated projects that is almost like purely a designer thing, because like artists would never call their work self-initiated. It's just work, because I've got a quote down here about designers are naturally intrigued by the world and the ways of interacting with it, so it's an obvious action to explore lots of avenues of visual expression, some that require a client's brief and some that require your own. There's something that we train ourselves to do this thing. We know about the process of design. We're fueled up and tooled up with the processes of design. If it doesn't have anywhere to go, does it not come out in self-expression? And that's the thing that we call it. I know you said that you don't like to think of it just as an itch that you're scratching, but perhaps there is a bit of that because you're a designer, you have to do it.
I don't know if it is that. Personally, I mean, I'm not. It's a tough one. I don't see it as that. I just see it. It's less a frustration with being a designer, and more of a frustration of having a job, really. Bills to pay, shit to do, and that keeps you away from doing the other stuff, which is why you do it, I guess, out of office hours or in between bits and pieces. That's kind of the way I see it. And an artist calls it their work because it is their work, but someone who might be more known for painting suddenly starts doing sculpture, you'd call that their work, but I think that's the same thing. They're just messing around and experimenting with a different kind of
I do too, but we call it self-initiated, don't we?
Yeah, we do, but we're awful designers for that kind of stuff. We have such a
branding inclination.
We're bereft of terms to describe what we do. We're so insecure about what we call ourselves. We're so insecure with all those. I find we are, anyway.
Commercial art.
Graphic design. You get graphic novels. The news can be graphic. So I just think we're bereft of terms, and then you get into that sub-level of, oh, I'm junior, I'm medium, I'm fucking XL, I'm tent. What does it matter? And in the same way, if you turn it around, my granddad, who used to fix stuff, he had a drawer just full of shit, and odds and sods and string and whatever, and he'd just go out there and he'd fix something in his garage, or he'd fix something else, but he would never say, that's me, that's my self-initiated product.
Exactly.
That's he's making, he's creative, he's engaging with something. He's not getting paid for it, but he's solving a problem. Yeah. That's just him solving his own problems in his own life, and he doesn't feel the need to qualify that with a term.
Yeah. Or my suspicion is it's crept in from education, which is sort of like the big thing on the course I teach on, is that the students are encouraged to do a dreaded self-initiated project, and
you're right.
Actually forcing somebody to do one is the most stupid thing that you can possibly do, because if you've got nothing that you want to self-initiate, there is nothing worse than the result of that process. And I think...
I see two teachers in the audience, two lecturers in the audience nodding about it. Absolutely.
And it's just the stupidity of the educative process, in that, it goes into these loops and cycles of checking and tick boxing and the ringing of the cash register at the degree shop, Sorry, I'm a bit...
Go for it.
I'm a bit fucked off with it all at the moment. It's a nightmare. Anyway, but also I think the big thing that's different about us, sitting here today, is that we can actually do things now which we couldn't do on our own 30 years ago. And to get a word into print 30 years ago was a really difficult process. It required expertise, it required knowing people who could help you with it. It cost a lot of money. And the democratization of the means of the dissemination of things through the media, if it is a media of design, is just, I don't think we've caught up with it yet. I don't think we've taken stock, and I don't think we know kind of where we are and sort of how easy it's become. And actually, the value of words has diminished incredibly, in that, one's fear as a designer 30 years ago was the typo. You know, if I'm responsible for a typo, it's going to cost me personally. There'll have to be a reprint. There'll have to be new typesetting. The client might sue me for the delay, you know. And now, there are typos everywhere, you know. Every job has got a typo. Every student submission is littered with them, you know. Branding guidelines for a project, everything all spelt wrong, and, you know. But I sound like a miserable old git moaning about how things were better then. I don't think they were. I just think they're different now. And
maybe it's just some sort of male thing, some sort of hangover from the male domination of advertising agents and graphic design and everything.
right, okay.
I think women just get on with it more than men do.
Yeah.
I think it's part of what you do.
Well, I think blokes have had it in design
Well, I
terms.
hope we can reinvent ourselves. What do you think about that, Jane?
We're going to have to, because I tell you, the students, the blokes are absolutely hopeless.
Grumpy old man. Do we have any? Do we have any questions
the young
from
women
women in the audience?
Absolutely.
What's the good
They're
news?
just, honestly,
Self-initiated questions.
it's still, yeah, I mean, the dynamic is changing, but I think in 10 years' time it'll be very different and for the better, probably. At least there'll be less bloody graphic design projects on Twitter about football.
Yeah, sorry.
Nothing personal.
And there'll be
This ladies' football.
There'll be
isn't
3 women on a panel and 1
Yeah.
man. So I think there's something very laudable about, and I think it's something that society aspires to, is to be happy, isn't it? I mean, all the conflict that was about in the 70s, 80s, 90s is to reach a sort of level of safety and happiness. I mean, all the fanzines, the railing against being subjugated and no hope, no vision.
It's all about, isn't it? Otherwise, you know, when we're doing it, we won't be self-initiating. Because that is a frustration, isn't it? It's like we want to do something because it will make us happy. We want to have a career change because it will make us happy.
Yep.
Or whatever.
And there's a certain joy in being able to express yourself through an exuberance of colour and things like that. So